Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Arch Study of You. I am your host, Cameron Gilmore. Buckle in, buckle up. We have got a phenomenal interview coming out from the Netherlands. From the Netherlands, ladies and gentlemen, Sanne Marcusse. Yeah? There we go. I've been practicing this for a bit. Listen, before we get into kind of the back history, who you are, what you do, I want to ask you a couple questions real quick from the last time that we spoke, because it's very, very, very interesting how we get into this. You have a phenomenal background in what you do with the high performers. When we last talked, you talked about how getting pregnant at 21 years old saved your life. It's very, very weird to hear. Very, very weird to hear. So please take us into the space. How and what do you mean getting pregnant at 21-year-old saved your life?
Wow, you're diving deep in directly. I love it. Yeah. Back then when I was 21, I was working in a hair salon as a hairstylist. And I had kind of like a rough time there because of putting a lot of pressure on myself, always wanting to be like perfect, always like being in control. And that was something that like there were patterns around that had been going on for basically my whole life. But at that time, in that job and in who I was in that moment, like that kind of felt like, how do you say it, like a pressure cooker or something. So I dealt with a lot of like health issues. I had a lot of really bad headaches. I had gut issues. I had like a lot of pain in my back. I was exhausted, and there were like a lot of days that it probably would be better to call an ambulance than to like be at work doing people's hair. But I like always like kept going, even though I was like basically dying on the inside and like physically. And that came to a certain point that I basically simply couldn't anymore. So, but I kept going anyway. And when I got pregnant, that was intentionally, by the way, when I got pregnant, that kind of forced me to slow down and to start listening to my body. I also wasn't sleeping very well. So like that really felt as something that came into my life, like literally came into my body actually, and forced me to start listening, because I was like, how do you say that? Like destroying myself. So that's why I always say like that saved my life, because I honestly think I wouldn't be there anymore if that wouldn't have happened.
Ooh, deep, guys. Did you hear that? Did you catch it? Because if you didn't, you know exactly what I'm gonna do. When you talk about perfectionism at such a young age, 21 years old, did it just all of a sudden spring on? Or was this something that you later on figured out, oh man, I have had this my entire life? Help all of us listening understand, like, how did the perfectionism cripple you up until this point, and does it still cripple you?
Yeah, well, it was something that was there from a really young age, and I was aware of it at that time, but not as how I am able to see it right now. So like right now I see how much that impacted like basically everything for me. But then I also like knew it was there, like perfectionism and the control. Like if I wanted to control everything, and that like kind of goes together with perfectionism, because like when you can control everything, you can do everything perfect and you won't fail, or you won't like get rejected, or like there was a lot of that. And what was behind it was like fear of being rejected, of not being good enough, being really insecure, all those things. And it owned me. Does it answer your question?
No, it does.
Like,
listen,
okay.
No, perfectly. Because listen, How many of us, when you were listening, how many of us can go back and relate to a time experience somewhere, whether you were a kid or even now? I have to be perfect. I have to be able to control. I don't want to be vulnerable. You think about what she just said. She's saying, this is what happened to me. This is where I was at. This is what was crippling me, caused me both mental, emotional, physical pain. Physical pain. Perfectionism can, and it's part of this mental illness that we don't talk enough about. And Sanne gets on here and says, this is what, hey, here I am. This is what I am. Come on, guys. Listen to that. Let it sink deep down into your soul. That's why she's on here, because she has so much knowledge in this space and more to come. Listen, I want to quote something you said from a podcast, which was phenomenal. Virtual Campfire. Shout out to Virtual Campfire. Wait, listen to it. If you haven't listened to Virtual Campfire before, go. You said something. You said, I didn't realize it at the young age, but I found that out later in my life. I dealt with a lot of physical things of stress. Once I became aware of that perfectionism and fear owned me so much, I started to realize how much impact it had on my body. I had a lot of headaches almost every day since I was 12 or 13 years old. Had a lot of things that were wrong in my body, but without signals that the doctors could say what it was. There was nothing wrong on the inside of my body, but I had a lot of pain and things going on. Two questions. How have you been able to build systems to recognize when your perfectionism is manifesting?
Right now?
Right now.
Yeah. I don't deal with perfectionism anymore. Like, that's totally like not even a thing anymore. Like, I do have high standards, which is something completely different, but perfectionism is something that I completely left behind.
Ooh, take us through that process, because you now are going to have a lot of people listening to this go, that's impossible. How do you just say I no longer have it? Like, it's not like it's not like, oh, I used to have hiccups and then I scared myself and I don't have hiccups anymore. Take us through that process. How did you, or give us one or two steps that you used to help you get through the perfectionism?
Yeah, well, like, everything starts with awareness, right? So like, because of the process I went through, like, the awareness of how much perfectionism like impacted my life all these years helped me to like better understand what was driving it, because like there's always something behind perfectionism. Like, it's always fear, but that can be like thousands of different things. So like, when you're aware of something, you like, that's where the change can begin. So that's one thing, becoming really aware of what is it actually that's happening here, and what drives it, and then making a decision like, hey, if like for me it was like fear that owned me, actually, like fear and control. And at some point you got to make a decision like, hey, am I going to let fear own me and like determine whatever I do and how I show up, or am I taking control myself? Like, am I deciding who I want to be and show up? So like, making a decision to no longer come from like a place of fear and actually taking full responsibility, like, that helped me a lot. And I also realized, because I've thought about this in the past few weeks, is that it has a lot to do with learning to know who you actually are. And like, because the more you're anchored in who you are, and the more like confident you are, and the more you accept yourself, and the more you like see your strength and your power and all of that, the less you need of the things like on the outside. So like, I know that probably a lot of people don't like me. Well, I could care less, because I know who I am, and what I'm here to do in this world, what my vision is, and like all of that. So the more I got anchored in who I am and actually learned like, hey, who am I? That helped me to like let all of that go, because like it's not important to me anymore. Like I know I don't have to be perfect. Like, yes, I like high standards, I like beautiful things, I like all of that, but it's not driving me. It's now the other way around. Like I'm in charge, and that's like a huge difference.
Could you feel the energy? Could you? Yeah, look, this entire time she's been talking, it's like this buildup. It's this buildup. But then when she said, "This is how I overcame it," if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple or any of those streaming, go to YouTube and watch. Just watch the energetic level jump out. When she starts to talk about, I know who I am, I do not need the approval or I do not need the accolations from somebody else around me, because I know who I am, I love myself, and I am who I am today because of I made a decision. Go watch that. Dang, that is so good. All you young, smart individuals out there, just go listen to this. Parents, if you have kids, go just play that part for them. Specifically, if you have young, beautiful queens, parents, or you are a young queen or a well-seasoned queen, just listen to what she just said. She said, own who you are, own the space in which you operate in, and never, never allow the opinion of somebody else to dictate who you are. Now, I'm going to say this. I'll probably get, because people are like, well, what are you talking about? Listen, she's a high-level coach. She is a high-level coach. So, Sanne, please tell us, what does that actually mean? I hear this all the time. I'm a high-level coach. Please explain a little bit about, this is a twofold question. What does that mean? And then how do you help high-level performing people recognize and become self-aware?
Can you repeat that last part of the question again?
So how do you help those high performers recognize and become self-aware?
Yeah, well, actually by calling out truth and asking them the questions that no one asks and telling them what no one else tells them. Like, I am really good at like seeing and hearing beyond what's said, and like reading or hearing between the lines, if you want to call it that way. So I pick up on the things that aren't said, but are definitely like playing part in someone's life or someone's communication or business or whatever. And I call that out. Which often starts, actually, I'm thinking right now, like while I'm talking or thinking, which often starts with like, what do you want? That's my all-time favorite question. Like, what do you truly want? Because a lot of us, like, we think we know what we want. Well, is that true? Is that truly what you want deep down inside, if you're like brutally honest with yourself? Most of the times it's not. Or second, like, okay, if that's what you want, like, are you acting like upon that? So then the first part of your question, like, what's a high-level coach? Well, that this is what I do. Like, I help people see things that they don't see themselves in order to be like the best possible version of themselves, in order to create the impossible. Yeah, and what's needed for that is truth.
You said something in what you were saying something as you were working through your zone of genius. You said, is that what you really want? And are you acting on that? What do you mean by that? Please expand on that. What do you mean by when you tell somebody, is that what you really want? And are you acting on that?
Well, the first part is like, we get influenced like all the time, like by our past, by our thoughts, by other people, by what, I don't know, would be a logical next step in whatever you're doing right now. But that doesn't say anything about what it is that you want. So sometimes because of the way you're influenced or the way you're thinking, you think that it is that you want whatever. But when we really get to the core of like what you value and what it is that you truly desire or need right now, that can be something completely different. And like, do you act on it or not? That's actually where a lot of discomfort oftentimes comes in, because like, for example, a super simple example, like if like what you want is more free time, I'm just making something up right now. Well, if that is what you truly want, are you acting on it? Well, most people are not, because of reason like whatever, 1-2000. And it's uncomfortable, like to change things or to say no to things or to communicate clearly to people why that is important to you, or like whatever. Like, so when you get to the core of what it is that you want, it's oftentimes really uncomfortable to actually act upon that.
Let me ask this question, because you look, I'm going to call it out, and people know me very well. I'm not politically correct on a lot of things. You have a BS meter that when it goes off, you're like, and you have no problem calling people out. Who in your experience in the space that you have, this is kind of I'm very curious about this. One is your clients that you have globally. Which part of the globe would you say takes the punch in your face a lot harder than others, or is there any difference in between the two based on the countries in which they come from?
No, I don't think it really matters where you come from.
Let me ask you this question. Which person, a male or a female, when you're dealing with them, high performers, you're talking to them, which ones have a little harder time accepting your criticism as you are calling them out for the BS in which they're trying to tell you?
I don't know if there's a lot of difference, but like as in like who receives it better, but there is difference in like how they respond. So for example, men tend to like come from a place of ego, like they don't want to hurt their ego, and for like women, it's more like how can I say this, like more on the emotions or how they feel or excuses. So like it's both in different ways, but like it actually depends on the person.
Because the reason why I asked this question is pretty simple, right? Because when you understand, right, as Sanne has told you, when you understand the place in which you operate, it doesn't matter the information that you give to somebody. It doesn't really matter, because you're coming from a place of security. She's very confident in what she does. Don't let the accent fool you, because just because she has an accent, from the US, we probably have an accent to her. But don't let it fool you. She knows the space in which she operates, so she's very comfortable calling you out based on the way that you can receive the information. And I think that is what's super key. How you give the information and tailor it in a way that's still bold, but yet powerful is huge. Man, that you ever want to know how to communicate well, learn.
Yeah. Yeah, and trust is really important too, right? Because like everything is about relationships and about trust. And like I have like a kind of natural tendency that people trust me from scratch, which like is a huge gift. But like that does a lot, because like I can basically say anything to my people because they know like the place I'm coming from and that I deeply care. And like I like this phrase. There's this phrase, I don't know who it's from, but that doesn't matter. There's this phrase, I care so much that I don't care.
Say that again. That. Say that again. I had to stop you.
I care so much that I don't care. And that's exactly it for me. I care so much about, well, whoever, you, for example, that I don't care what I have to say or do for you in order to get something like clear for you, or that you can receive it, or that like it helps you to move forward in whatever.
We could stop right here, guys. We could stop. You have just been indoctrinated by a high-level master. Okay. She knows the space in which she operates. She tells you, this is who I am. You want me to help you? Get ready to get punched in the face. Oh, I love it. Gosh, dang it.
It's so effective because like I am about let's not waste time. So like, let's get to the core of things directly. So like it saves both of us time, and there's more time to actually do amazing things, So like, let's scrap all the bullshit and like, boom.
Thank you. Thank you for calling for what it is. I love it. So how does leadership come into play then? Like, you hear this word thrown around a lot. It's a fun topic. I love leadership. But how has leadership changed as you work with clients, these high-performing clients that are performing at a high level, that want to go a higher level? How does the word leadership, right? How does that change, and how has that changed throughout the course of what you have seen?
Yeah, well, I actually focus and talk a lot about self-leadership because like everything starts with ourselves, and it's actually way more easy to lead others than to lead ourselves. Like truly leading yourself is one of the hardest things to do. So, but that's at the same time where everything starts. So self-leadership and like true leadership for me is about ownership and responsibility, like taking full ownership of everything and coming from that place. And that self-leadership.
Let me ask this question, because the last time you talked, you went in great depth about how long it took you, how many years it took you to get you to actually love who you are, where you are, and the person that you become. There are many people that listen to this, including myself, that struggle throughout the process of loving yourself and allowing, more importantly, allowing yourself to be loved. Take us through that process on how you were able to arrive to where you are today.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a process and not linear. Well, and like part of it, I'm still working on it. And I think it's like a never ending thing, like to fully love myself and to be able to receive love. But like from a really young age, when I was a little girl, maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old, something happened that made me as a little girl decide to not like reach out anymore for love or help. So from a really young age, I kind of completely shut off like my emotions, or like being able to receive. Maybe that's better. Being able to receive. So from that point on, I always like gave and gave and gave, but I never allowed myself to receive again, which also, did I lose connection?
Nope, still here.
Which made it really hard for me to actually like figure out who I am and how it feels to be loved. And like, I had no clue about like self-love or how to love yourself or what that even means or how important it is. Like, I did everything with my head, not with like emotions or my feelings. And I had actually no idea like what true love felt like. And so I found that out not long ago, actually. And what has helped me in that process of like loving myself and being able to receive again is actually asking for help and allowing myself to receive that help without feeling guilty, because I would feel guilty all the time because like I only give, I didn't allow myself to receive. So when I did, I would feel that I would have to give something back. So like allowing myself to receive and allowing myself to like be open about like what it actually is that I need, and also being able to receive that, that has helped me to kind of like lean in and start to like feel again and to experience what it means to actually love yourself. Like I knew that I was good at a lot of things, and like that I am like I was confident in the things that I did, but I wasn't confident about like loving myself, or that I actually could give some grace on myself and that kind of stuff.
How then do you start to allow yourself to be loved? And the reason I ask that, because there's a lot of this out there globally. Things happen to us as a kid, horrific things. Okay.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about what those are, but it's very hard for kids that go through traumatic events when they're a child, to allow themselves to be loved. So I want you to speak directly as if you were in front of an audience of 1 million, because you will be. There'll be people all over the globe that listen to this. And you're speaking. How do you help them start to allow themselves to be loved, but get that confidence to be loved?
I think it's really important to start with giving yourself the space. Like giving yourself space to explore what it is that you need, what it is that maybe needs to be healed, where there's like a gap in you, and explore what it would mean for you if you would give more love on yourself, and if you would allow yourself to be loved. I think that is a really, really great starting point.
Guys, I mean, it's definitely a subject that is hard for a lot of people to talk about, but it is a subject that needs to be talked about. Give yourself space, allow yourself to heal. And when you heal, move on. Don't recall it. Don't keep bringing it up. You hear that a lot. And oh my gosh, man, that is so, so good. Let me ask you this, because of your coaching and what you do on those high performance people. What steps do you allow them to take to actually trust people? Because it's got to be hard when you're performing at a high level. You don't know who is authentic and who's not authentic. Who do you feel like just wants to take advantage of you, or those that really want or are invested and want to get to know? How do you help them take those steps
to trust others? Yeah, trust is an interesting topic. First thing I would say is like trust starts with ourselves too, like everything. So to be able to trust others, you have to trust yourself first. So like the real first question is like, how much do you trust yourself? Like, do you even trust yourself? And if that answer is 100% yes, like, yes, I do trust myself, then it's way easier to trust others as well. And how I see it, like, a lot of people have told me in my life that I trust people too fast, and that I trust too much people. And I don't agree with that. It's a conscious decision. Like, I decide to trust you. You can prove me wrong. You can prove me that you're not trustable, but I choose to trust you. And because of that trust, and like, people feel it when they feel like, oh, she trusts me, like that means something. There are not many people who then will screw you over. Of course, a lot of people still will, but like feeling trust from someone, that does something. So I decide to trust. And so one thing I would say to others is, and how I help people is, well, trust yourself first. That's really important. And second thing is also like, go with your gut. Like, if something feels off, like check it if you can check it. And sometimes doesn't make sense, but just go with your gut. If it does feel off, okay, well then let it go and go to another person. But yeah.
Simple. Isn't it just simple that people always, well, not people, I'm not blanketing statement, but a lot of people that I've talked with, it's just, you have to trust the process.
Oh yeah.
You just trust the process.
Yeah.
Because you can overthink it, you can overanalyze it. You can say, well, because of this, I don't know. But you're saying it's a conscious decision that you make. And also, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it, regardless of what it looks like.
Exactly.
So take that example of trust your gut. How have you helped people recognize and trust their gut to help them get out of situations, both good and bad?
Well, I guess that starts with like being aware again. Like the more aware you are of yourself and of your body and the signals that gives you, the better decision you can make and the better you can listen to your gut. So like it's a process of like, I see a lot of things I see as building a muscle. So it's like you learn by doing, you learn by training, you get better by training, and you grow muscle by training. So it's a process of like training that muscle and being in that game.
Yes, I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's all I can say about it.
if you haven't figured this out yet, through this course of the conversation, it's just the simplistic answer is really, you have to train, you have to put in the work. There is not a pill, a potion, or a lotion. There's not a drink. There is not an immense amount of TV or podcast or book readings that you can do, and it will help grow you. If you do not put in the work, you will not change. Plain and simple. Plain, and you have to put in the work. You are learning from somebody who teaches this at a very high level to individuals that are at very high levels, whether it's professionally, economically, socially, wherever it may be. You're learning that she breaks them all the way down and says, do you trust yourself? And if the answer is yes, prove it. If the answer is no, why not?
Yeah, and things are so much easier when you trust yourself, because even when it turns out that you said yes to someone that couldn't be trusted and they screwed you over, like whatever, that's fine. You can figure it out. Like you'll fix it, or you'll find a way to like get over it, like whatever. If you truly trust yourself and if you like own who you are, it doesn't really matter. Does it hurt? Probably. Does it suck? Yes. But like, let's get on with it.
Oh, I love this. Look, you just said something that's beautiful, because I wanted to, it reminded me of this quote that I heard, again, going back to the Virtual Campfire podcast, which was a phenomenal podcast, by the way. You said something, and I want to read this real quick and get your thoughts. Quote, I don't believe in finding the time. It's creating time. It's two things. One is checking in with yourself. What do I want, and how do I want my week, my life, my business, or my family to look? And two, being honest about what that is, because that's the real problem. Please take us through your thought process on this.
Yeah. Well, like, if you want something bad enough, or if something is truly important to you, you'll find a way, you'll create the time, or like whatever, you will do what is needed. So like, start again with being honest about what it is that you want, or what is like priority to you, what are your values, and then go from there, because there lies the answer always. Like, and during most of my life, I think I never truly asked that question to myself, like, what do I truly want? Like, I oftentimes like, went from what I think I wanted or what I thought the world expected from me or something like that. So when I realized like, hey, I can take full ownership and hey, I can create anything that I want, like that forced me to like really asking myself that question and answering it brutally honest, like over and over and over again, because that's also a muscle, like asking yourself, what do I want? Like I realized it's all up to me. So the more I started answering that question honestly, the more clear the path became. And then you'll find time, you'll create time. Like literally nothing will stand in your way if you're clear. And that is, again, super simple, but I'm all about simplicity. But simple doesn't mean easy. Like it can be freaking hard. But yeah, that's the thought process.
Guys, did you hear that? If you're clear about it, you will move heaven and hell to go get it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
How? I'm gonna look. If you, guys, I'm sorry, but there's been a lot of sarcasm on this podcast. There has been an abundance amount of sarcasm. That's why I wanted her to be on. Let me ask you this question: how then do you set clear vision? Do you write it down? Do you just talk about it? Do you lay in bed and say, oh, I wish? Please help us understand, all of us, how do we set clear and then how do we act?
I think I said it several times already. It's the what do you want question. Like, and getting really, really, really getting to the core of what that is. And getting your values, how do you say that, lined up? Like, what are your top 5 things in life that you value? For me, number 1 is freedom. So I create my whole life from freedom. Everything I do, how my week looks like, everything is created from freedom, even my business. So like, if you answer that question, what do I want? And like drill deep. Don't take your first answer as a real answer. Like, no, question it. And it's actually really good when you do this with someone because you need someone to challenge you on that. That's really powerful. But otherwise, like keep asking yourself that question, drill down as much as you can. And like go search a value list on Google. And then start drilling down on your top 5 values and then start creating a vision from those values. Like, what does that look like? Okay, freedom is my number 1 value. What does that look like in my life? And what needs to change? And then act on that, like change that. Which meant for me, when I did that, like the top 5 value thing, I cleared my whole calendar. And I was like, okay, how do I want this to look like? Like my weeks, how do I want that? And same with my business, with my private life, everything. And I started creating from there.
Any doubts or questions, anybody? Anything? You listen, all the books, all the leaderships, everything that you read, they all boil it down to this exact same point. The high achieving level individuals create systems, they create freedom for themselves. They do not let the business or their external factors run their life. They run those lives. You heard it from her. Freedom is her biggest value. So how can she create more freedom? It's get real clear on the vision that she wants, real clear on the time that is really going to take. And when she's in that time, she's actually focused on that task at hand. Look, you don't believe me? She's married. She's got 2 children. She's got to run day to day, probably with them. She's got a business to run. And she's got, and being married comes with its own challenges. Let me ask you this. How does you and your spouse, how do you guys work together cohesively with you running the business and the children and the home? How do you run cohesively?
By getting good systems, I guess. Well, my husband is away from home a lot. Like sometimes he's 2 or 3 weeks away abroad for work. So I am oftentimes like running the family by myself. And otherwise, when he's home, he helps me a lot. But yeah, I just created like a routine that really helps me. I strongly believe in having good routines. And so when I bring the kids to school, for example, every morning, afterwards, I drive directly to the gym because I lift weights 5 times a week. That's truly really important to me. So like I make sure that I have time for that. That's actually like more a priority than like my business, because I am my business. So like I create my life and my business around the times of the school and around my weightlifting things and the other things that I want to do for myself. And I schedule the hours that I want to be in my business or work on my business when I want it. So like, yeah, that's again really simple, but it works.
Listen to what she's saying. Her husband is gone 2 to 3 weeks. At times it stretches. If you're listening to this, men, women, listen. If your spouse has gone away from work and then not home a lot, look, she's saying you create a system. You can have freedom. Think about what she just said. She creates her system to have freedom. The first things that she does when she drops the kids off is go to the gym. Now, look, you guys were like, man, I got a 9 to 5. I work 9 to 5, work 40 hours a week. I mean, how do I prioritize? Go back to the part where she said, if it's important, you will make time for it. She doesn't want to hear you
feel like a burden.
Oh, and don't give her BS. Don't give us the BS. If you value it, you're going to make it a high priority. She values freedom. So it's a high priority for her. Guys, this interview is just jam-packed full with all kinds of leadership, guidance, creating freedom, creating systems from somebody who does this on a high level with individuals that complain to her. She don't want to hear the BS. You don't want to hear the BS. Your family, your friends, your kids, they don't want to hear the BS. If you want it, go get it. Keep giggling. I'm sorry. This is fantastic. This is why we created this show. Tell us about what you're creating, this new executive lifestyle brand to be launched next year. Tell us about, guys, listen to what she's creating. Another business, really? Tell us about it.
Yeah. I'm creating an exclusive lifestyle brand that fully stands for like own who you are. Because like that is one of my main messages, because I believe that if you like truly own who you are and live because of that the life you truly want, the world becomes a better place. So I wanted to kind of like create a brand around that. So like everyone around the whole world will get that message and like join the club to call that way. Yeah, so I'm creating this like lifestyle brand. It's called Lion Noir because that means Black Lion. I'm the lioness. Because like I want to like be able to spread that message in the most like in like every possible way. And I feel like having like real products and like having a brand that people like feel connected with strengthens that. So that's what I'm creating, like a brand that people want to wear, want to be part of, which feels like a community that might have like events around the world where people can join. And like together, like to change the world and like just freaking own who we are.
I love it. The Black Lion. Yeah. I'm not even going to try to say it because it's French. I'm going to butcher. I can say
Leon Noir.
Leon Noir. There we go.
Yeah, pretty good.
Gosh, dang. Yeah, pretty good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh my gosh. Tell us how can we get, how people want to reach out to you, want to get a hold of you, your business. Tell us how, and we'll have all the links down below, but tell us how we can get and be a part of your life.
Well, that's not for many because like the work that I do one-on-one is like really exclusive. But I would say get to my Instagram. Like my Instagram and my LinkedIn are the platforms that I am like most on, and where you can like be in the vibe and in the message of what I have to say in this world. And TikTok is upcoming too. So I would say definitely follow me on those 3 platforms. And yeah, if you do feel like you're up for a really, really good challenge and get ready to like to, you know, get some truth out, I dare you to slide into my DM there. But yeah, that's it.
Guys, she's brutally honest. So if you're ready to take a new chapter in your life and become a better version of yourself, reach out. Because I follow her content, and I remember when I reached out to her, I'm like, man, there's something amazing about what she's doing. And the fact that she was like, yes, let's talk and have this conversation. Let me tell her story. Completely honored to have her on. It has been an absolute treat. Before I let you go, as we wrap up this phenomenal, sarcastic punch in your face, get the bullshit out, guys. That's what she's saying. Get it out of your life. No more. Stop what you're doing. Let's move on. If you were to see your 5-year-old self today, what do you think she would say to you?
Anything is possible.
Man, that's deep. Man, that is so good. That is so good. Look, I'm going to tell you this right now. 2024, we'll say end of 2024, watch, her book's going to come out. She may not be thinking about it. But you're dang right. You better write a book. 2024, I'm telling you on the podcast, she's going to have her book come out. Just kidding. Hey, before I let you go, top 5 books that you would recommend someone to read. Any personal development, business, spiritual, whatever it may be. Give us the top 5 books you would recommend anyone to read.
Well, definitely the number 1 is Straight Line Leadership from Dusan Djukich. I don't know if I pronounce his name correctly, but that's the first one. Do you know that one?
No, I do not.
Yeah, go read it. Go read it.
Don't so you good. Worry. I'm going to add it to the list of the libraries that I've got on all the books that we're reading.
Relentless from Tim Grover.
Mm-hmm.
Man Up from Bedros Keuilian. The Big Leap from Hendricks.
Love
good,
it.
Right? Yeah, yep. I love it too. And Reinvent-Yourself from Chandler.
Oh man, I absolutely love that. Guys, we are going to have all the links. We'll have the links to the books that she recommended. We'll have all of the links to her social media account. Please go follow her. I'm telling you, this is why we do the show. It is so that we can bring people from the Netherlands to come here and just drop gem after gem after gem. Reach out if you're ready to change your life. If not, follow, get inspired. Guys, go, please share, like, comment, leave a review. Go reach out to her. Say hi. Say, I heard you on there. Call her. Say, the Black Lioness, I heard you. I heard you loud and clear and cannot wait. Man, this is phenomenal. 10 countries down, top 25%, most shared globally in 2022. And you can see why this is the fastest growing podcast out there. This has been another phenomenal, and I mean another phenomenal episode of the Arch Study of You. Go crush your day and have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Give a shout out to my biggest sponsor, Warrior Energy Drink. The reason why we partner together is because we have the same mindset, with the same drive. We're for the people. We're about the people. Look, Warrior Energy Drink has 0 sugar options, and they got water as well. low calories, great taste, very affordable, no crash, big energy fast, high in B vitamins, awesome design, culture design, 160 milligrams of caffeine. Other energy drinks have way too much, and they're always giving it back to their community. They're paying it forward. Partner with them. Guys, click the link below. Go get yourself your own Warrior Energy drink and go crush today. Hey, everybody, I want to take this quick second here. A lot of you have asked me, what journal do I use? My family use? Simple, this journal right here. See, my buddy Craig Smith has spent years and years developing a journal that takes everything that's up in here and puts it on paper so we can be edified and grow. So if you don't know what to write about, which oftentimes happens, he gives you ideas. And if you want power statements, things that say, I am this, he gives you those ideas. Now, when you look at on one page, it says, this is what I'm accomplished, this is what I am statements, and there's a quote every single day that you get to write on and focus on. The second page is write your daily thoughts, get it out of your head, put it on paper to be the best version of yourself. The link's down below. Listen, I get no money for this. It's just, I believe in this journal. I love this journal. It's changed my life, my family's life. And if you want, it'll change your life as well.